Excellent. Good evening. Hello, everybody in the building, and those of you at home watching online. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Breathe, and it's a continuation of our celebration of creativity. So if you was tuned in last week, and if you was here last week, we was celebrating fashion, and we had some amazing speakers on. Bim, who is with us here now. Come on, guys, give her a woo! Thank you. Who was amazing, and Liz, who was amazing as well. And this week we are looking at film. So we've got an amazing actress with us today. Lena, come on, guys. And we have the amazing Alifa, who is a producer. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. So we're going to be looking at film. It's going to be an amazing time, encouraging, uplifting, and insightful. But first of all, guys, you can tune in at home if you can see. We are going to do a quick game of Pictionary. So what we've done kind of secretly is hide notes on the chairs in case you didn't want to contribute, but we've roped you in now, so you don't have a choice really. So I'm just going to quickly get the board. Here we go. Can you see that there back home, guys? All right, okay. So if you look next to you, where you're seated on your chair, I can see one for you. Lena, it's right there at the end there. And look at that. May has got one in her hand already. Why don't you step right up for us, May? Use one of these pens here. It's okay. That'll make it more interesting. Let's see what we got. And it should be a film. There's your clue, guys. T-shirt. Oh, come on. Yes, Superman. What? You said you wasn't good. That brought me back to back in the days. Who brought... At school, guys, remember the S's, the super S's. Okay, Lina, I saw you with one. Step right up for us, please. Okay, was there any guesses at home online? Let's go. Oh, come on, Bim. Excellent. That was a good one as well. Yeah, that's a scary one. That was a scary Finding Nemo. Okay, has anybody else got one on their chairs? Are you close to one? Kim? You don't know that one? Does anyone in front of you know this film? May? Bim, come on, Bim. There we go, guys. Okay, we got a T-shirt as well. Number 7 on there. A football. Oh, come on. You guys are on fire today. Bend it like Beckham. Beckham. Yeah. All right, do we have any more, guys? Oh, yeah, there is one here. I'm gonna, you can't see me, but you can hear me. I'm gonna draw you guys in from the back. Yeah. All right. Pens on there. Let me go on this side. Okay, we've got a person. Any clues, guys? 2 people? That doesn't really round it down, does it? A man and a woman. They kind of look like they're dancing. They're dancing. You guys, you're on fire today. Is there any more? Is there one more? I think there's one more. Yeah. Is there one more around? Bro. Oh, he's in his own world. Where is it? don't know. Where did that one go? Oh, here. No, that's not it. Sorry, guys, we are here. All right, can you do that one for us then, Kev? After you. All right, this is the last one, guys. Any clues? This side has got to give everybody else a chance. You guys are too good. I heard it. Go on. Yes. All right. I don't know if anybody got it back home, but we're going to begin with the talk now. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Ethan, if you want to come up, and then I'll set this up, get this out the way for you. Woo!
Hi everyone. Hi. Hope everyone's had a really nice day. I'm going to try and just basically give a whistle-stop tour on what I do in content production. And I hope it's insightful for anyone who wants to learn a bit more about what goes into creating content and creating films. So I would say I've had a bit of a semi-unusual creative journey. I started off as a film programmer, which is basically when you curate or select films that you think would work well together and that you think would appeal to an audience. So that's what I started off doing in 2015. And I loved it. I got to meet loads of different filmmakers and speak to them about why they were making the films they were making and how they made them. And yeah, I just felt really inspired and wanted to make my own work. Luckily, I have a few other creative friends. So one of my friends, she's an actress and writer. And she was like, oh, do you want to produce my short film for me? I was like, okay, sure, I'll give it a go. I was working in health marketing, doing project management at the time. So I thought, feels quite similar, so I'll try and lend my skills. And that's us there on set. We had a 2-day shoot in Shoreditch and a really small crew. That was actually the entirety of our crew, and that's my friend sitting down. She was our lead actress, so it was tiny, but we had the best time, and I learned a lot, I guess, about, even though there was not that many of us, I learned a lot about how important it is to collaborate and also to work within your means. So initially, I think we wanted to raise £5,000 to create the short film. And we did a crowdfunding campaign, which in itself is a lot of work. And we only managed to raise half of that. So we weren't able to have the full crew that we wanted, but we made it work with our tiny team. And the film was essentially about human trafficking. And we were really grateful that we were able to play at festivals that kind of showcase these kind of films, and people were able to use it in the way in which we wanted it to be used. So it turned out okay in the end. But yeah, after that I felt, okay, so I've produced my friend's short film, what should I do next? So I was still working full-time in my 9-to-5 in health marketing. And I thought, okay, maybe I can start off working for a production company, just doing some work experience. So I booked some annual leave and I went off and did work experience with a production company called Knucklehead. And one of the things that I would say is quite interesting about my journey is I feel like along the way, I've just met a lot of supportive people who've seen something in me that maybe I haven't seen in myself, and they've just kind of taken me under their wing and pushed me forward, which I would definitely say is why I am in the position that I am now, because other people have championed me, which is nice. So at this production company, one of the producers there, he was like, oh, do you want to do this series of music videos for an artist called Hamza with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. Completely unpaid, but I think sometimes when you start off in the industry, unfortunately, you do have to do some unpaid work, but you just have to make sure you're not putting yourself out too much. So make sure you're not suffering, and yeah, enjoy the experiences when you are doing them unpaid and try and get as much out of it as you can. So I did that, and I did a few other music videos of him, which was great, and I learned a lot. And I think he often would throw me in deep end, so maybe give me stuff to do that I'd never done before, but that's how you learn. It was good for me because I didn't study film or anything at university, so literally learned on set, which was great. And then I decided, okay, maybe it's time for me to take a chance on myself, and I essentially quit my 9 to 5 for which is wild, it was like a permanent job, full salary, could book annual leave, could go on holidays. I was living out of my parents' house, but an opportunity came up for a 3-week traineeship on Top Boy, and I was like, oh, this is incredible, I definitely want to do it. So I quit my job and I moved back home, and kind of knew that my circumstances were going to be a bit different, and I was going to attempt to be freelance for the first time in my career. Didn't really know what to expect, but just trusted it and went with it. Absolutely loved my time on Top Boy. It was really nice, encouraging for me, I think, for it to be my first experience in TV, just to see, I guess, how incredible the industry can be. And I think following on from Top Boy, I've seen different dynamics on set, which I will go into a bit more later on when I speak about the challenges. But yeah, it was a good first experience. And then I was just, obviously you're a freelancer, you're just looking for any work. So I did a few more music videos, and then luckily got another TV job, which was really great. But one thing I would say is, in all of this, I produced 2 shorts before, but when I was doing paid work, I was starting at the bottom. So it's not like you can be like, oh, okay, I've produced these 2 shorts and then just start producing. It is more of a journey. And I think for myself personally, I wanted to learn. So I also felt like I wanted to start from the bottom so I could learn and develop more skills and understand a lot more of what goes in, I guess, to creating content. That's my little ramble. Going to the next slide. So I guess I'd speak a bit about what production entails from a producer's perspective, but also from the production team's perspective. So essentially you have a script that you're given, and you almost have to break it down and discover all the different elements that you need to pull together to make it happen. That breakdown allows you to anticipate how much you think it's going to cost, and then you have to find that money, which is the hardest part. But once you have the money in, it's nice, and you can start to book your crew and book your cast, which is a really fun journey, because you can kind of look at the story and be like, oh, this specific maybe cinematographer, who's the person who's in charge of how the film looks, or set designer or costume designer feels perfect for this film, either based on their previous work or just based on their interpretation of the script when you share it with them. And then you go around and look for locations, which can be really fun. Like, one of the things I remember when I left my full-time job, one of my managers, she was like, what are you looking forward to the most? And I was like, I really want to travel for work. And I think what's quite nice about working in film and TV is you can travel for work depending on where you need to shoot. I think the past couple of years I've definitely been to places that I wouldn't have been to by choice, but it's still been really nice. And then obviously, like, sometimes, yeah, you first off, once you find your locations, you have to design, well, the production designer will design the set, and then their incredible team will go in and create the world that they're trying to create based on the script. And then your wardrobe designer will be working with the cast, fitting them, making sure that they look as the director and the writer kind of envisaged these characters. And then, yeah, you have a first AD, which is the first assistant director. They come on board and they also do a breakdown of the script, but to create a schedule, and that schedule, I guess, determines what you're going to shoot on each day. And they kind of take into consideration actors' availability, locations availability. So yeah, generally sometimes you'll spend lots of time in one location and just move location to location. So you often don't shoot things in order, which is quite interesting. And then you go into production. So yeah, your set will be ready. You bring in your lighting team and your camera team, and the actors obviously like have all their makeup and their change and they get on set. The DOP, so the cinematographer who's in charge of like the style of how it looks, will have conversations with the director in terms of this is how we want it to look. In this part of the story, we want it to, like, maybe we're going to have a close-up so you can see the emotion in the character. So they speak about how they want to shoot everything before they arrive on set, and they call this kind of like a shot list. Sometimes they can have a shot deck where they have literally frame by frame references of how they want it to look, so everyone's on the same page going into it. And then, yeah, when the actors are on set, they do this thing which is quite interesting called blocking, which is where the actors will arrive and people will still kind of like be setting up, but you have to do it quietly. It's like a special place. And they kind of like, okay, you're going to stand here, and sometimes they put like tapes on the floor so they kind of know where they need to stand, and they deliver their lines and they rehearse, and then the camera will go up, which is basically when the camera's like ready to record, and then they'll start to record what needs to be done. Yeah, which is when video and audio is recorded, and then someone will have to take all that data and keep it safe, and they transcode it and everything, and then it's ready for the edit, which again is a process in itself. So the editor's job's actually quite cool. I wish I was talented enough to do it. They get time alone with all the scenes that have been shot, and they get to assemble the script in however they feel like makes sense. It can be however long is needed, depending on how long the piece of content is. And then the director comes in and watches it and gives notes, and they just rework it and rework it and rework it. And then once everyone's happy, they do this thing which is called locking picture, which is when there's no more picture changes, but you still go in and you lay the sound and you lay the music, and sometimes you have to do re-recordings of the actor's dialogue if it was maybe a bit muffled, or maybe something's not quite working, so you add bits of dialogue. Trying to think if I've forgotten anything else. Oh, yeah, then you also do this thing which is called a grade, which is kind of, it's like the style of the kind of the colours that are within the film, but it's pulled out after it's been edited, and so that's an interesting process. But yeah, so along all three of the stages of pre-production, production and post-production, there's just a lot to do, and it incorporates so many people. But I think from a production or producer's standpoint, you're basically there from beginning to end, which I think when I figured it out, that's when I was like, oh, I think I want to produce, because I'm just quite nosy, and it's quite nice to be there from beginning to end, to see something like on paper and then see it on the screen. And I think in the different departments, you don't get as much access to everything, so it's nice. Yeah, I enjoy it anyway, just to see. But it's obviously like quite long. Like, I think if you're in the camera department, some people say you shoot a film for 5 weeks, they just come on for 5 weeks and then they go into another job. I've been on the film that I'm on currently since last November, and I'll be on it until September, October. So it's a long time, where some people have just come and gone and they've moved on with their lives, and I'm still there. It's fine. I wanted to I was out to speak a bit about my faith, and I was really excited too, because I think we wonder how can we, in our working lives, how can we glorify God? And yeah, how can we just make sure that what we're putting out into the world reflects how God wants people to see the world? And I think for me, what I enjoy the most is being able to have like a really small role in kind of determining what people engage with. So you get sent a lot of things as a producer, like, oh, will you produce like this bit of content for me? And I think for me, I always wonder, okay, what is the message? And I always like to speak to the writer director, like, what is the message? What is it that you want people to take away when they watch it? And I guess I'm very aware of how people may perceive certain things. And I think in the sort of content I enjoy anyway is always hard-hitting dramas. And I think it's because sometimes I feel as though we don't pay enough attention to maybe people who have like a little voice, so people who don't often get put on pedestals or often get to talk about their stories. So I'm always interested in a story that maybe I know nothing about. So I'm going to learn something, the audience is going to learn something, and hopefully some change will come from the story. And there was another thing I wanted to mention actually. It's also really interesting because you get to work with so many different characters, which is fun. But another thing is you have to be careful, I guess, in terms of who you choose to champion and how you choose to do it. So I feel really lucky to be able to work with a lot of young black female writers and directors. That really excites me because it's like it's really a minority. There's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of them being showcased. There's not a lot of their work being made, and they have such interesting stories to tell and with such depth as well. So I really enjoy working with them, and you do find it's very different energy. So I think you have to go also where you feel like you can bring out the best in someone as well, which I think is quite important. So then I just wanted to show like some of my works, and I try to do it so it's like this side is all like behind the scenes, and then this side is all kind of the finished product. But this was my second short film that I did, and it was very, very, very stressful. And I remember during production, I was really stressed out. I was like, you're just going at it, you're just doing the best you can. But I remember thinking to myself that, oh, why am I putting myself through this? But the director is an incredible director. He's a British-Nigerian director, and he's really lovely. And he just always wants to tell stories that relate to his life and what he's seen and what he's experienced and what he knows. And this was a really, when I read this, but previously he'd always done almost like romantic comedies about interracial relationships, which I thought was really interesting. So when he sent me the script, I just assumed it'd be the same because all his shorts had been the same before. And I read it, and it just completely surprised me because it was about a mum, and she'd recently lost her son as a result of knife crime, and it's the period in which the audience get to experience the film is when she's also a pastor at church, so she's about to return back to the church, and she hasn't been there for a while. And it's just showing her grieving process, and I just thought it was fascinating to allow people to see that, because you hear so much about knife crime and gun crime, but you don't ever really get to see the people that I guess that are left behind and how they're managing it. And I also it was a really beautiful script to read, to see her grieving, to see her struggle, and to even see her try and challenge God but come round in the end. And yeah, I just think our writer-director, he did such a good job to pull that off in a short as well, I think. So yeah, that was an enjoyable one to work on. This second one really touched me because it's about a mum and a daughter, and I guess it's kind of just, you don't really ever see, I don't know, 40, 50-year-old women as your lead characters, and kind of seeing how they're navigating, dealing with maybe something that their child's going through. So it's something that's happened to the daughter, but you see it through the mother's perspective. So I thought that was also quite interesting. And then Crown. So during the lockdown, it was a bit a bit tetchy because obviously a lot of people couldn't work, but especially in film and TV, like you couldn't shoot, so none of us had been working. So I'd been at home for ages, and I was doing online workshops, which was really great. And then my same friend who I did my first short with, this is her, she was like, oh, I'm doing like another short film. Do you want to come produce it? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, it was unpaid, one-day shoot. I think like a 5-minute script, and I was like, yeah, sounds really simple. I'll do it. And we had a mostly female team, which was really nice. And it was essentially just about, I guess, the pressures as a woman in your 20s that you can kind of face as you rise in your career and how you challenge them. So again, it was a story that I didn't feel like I'd seen before. So I was interested in working with them to bring it to life. And that one's actually on BBC iPlayer now, if anyone wants to watch it. It's called Crown. Yeah, we were really surprised when they reached out and they were like, oh, we like your film. They wanted to use it in this Festival of Funny. And we were like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. For me, I always felt like it was a hard-hitting film. But I think the relationship between the girls within the film is naturally funny. They have their own banter. So that's good. Yeah, so I said I'd touch a bit more on the challenges. So I just found this quote online, actually, and it says, when you're female and then you're black on top of it, and then you're working class, there's not many reference points. There's not many people you can see who are producers or directors. I hope anyway, going forward in my career, that I can just work with a lot of people that look like me and I hope that hopefully they see me and feel like it's something that they can also do. And what I was alluding to is when I was on Top Boy, I remember I stepped on the set and it was like, I want to say like 95% people of colour. And I think going on to other TV productions, that has not been the case. There's been too many times where I've been the only person of colour on set. So I think there's so much work to do, but you'll notice that those changes do come from the top. So the producer of Top Boy, she champions people of colour and just representation in the industry. So that's why that set looked that way. But it's such a fast-paced industry. I think when you're crewing up, a lot of people don't really take the time to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to try and bring in someone new from the industry. You just want someone who you know can do the job. So a lot of people don't get given chances, or maybe some people assume, I've never seen a black female cinematographer. Maybe it's not something we do, so they don't try. So I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges I face. I think sometimes people may be like, oh, she's not very bolshy. I don't know if she'd make a good producer, or I don't know. It just there is different challenges, but I think one of the big things I would say is definitely being female and being of colour does make it difficult, because I think the industry is not really used to it, but you know, you can only try, and I guess when you are on set, just do your best, and you hope that people just kind of stop to see you as like a certain colour and just see you as good at your job, sorry. Yeah. I think that's all my rambling. Yeah, it is.
Guys, come on, another clap, please. It's so good. Excellent. Thank you so much. So informative and insightful, seriously. So good. So we've seen it from the producer's side now. A lot of work goes into that. But like you said, the bonus, location finding. What's, I know it's not Q&A yet, but what's been your favorite location so far?
Getting to go to Barcelona.
Come on, I want to be a producer now. So next up we have Lena, who, come on guys, who is an actress. Do you want this stool as well to put your notes on? It's wet, but it's clean.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lena, and I'm an actress and a writer. And I tried to be a producer once, and it was really hard, so well done. So my creative journey was a bit, like I always wanted to be an actress, but it was more of a child thing, you know, like, oh, I would love to be an actress, but my parents kind of, like they're in the corporate world, and they always kind of told me that, you know, money first, and, you know, you gotta have a big bank account, otherwise you're not gonna exist in society. So I went on and studied finance. I have a master's in finance, and I started to work as a banker, but just something wasn't right to the point where it just made me physically sick, and I just had to just stop and take a break. So I thought, you know what, just for a year I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna just do a bit of acting, just for fun, because I always wanted to do it. And then as I was doing it, I met just incredible people in New York, and I just realized that a lot of people actually do that for a living, and that you can live like that. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna give it a try. And so I came back to Europe, and I had to kind of make a choice to be like, oh, should I go to France, or should I continue in like an English-speaking country? Obviously, like England's got an amazing industry, and I wanted to come, but I always had this feeling of, you know, like I'm not British. Like, how am I gonna find work in the British industry? And something that kind of just stayed with me until like even now was what my teacher told me. He was like, just stop trying to be other people. Just be yourself. Like, you know, yeah, you're not British, but what are you? You know, you're Moroccan, you're French, you have all these things. So, and that's interesting. No one else is like you. So don't try to be other people. Just trying to be you, and that's what people want to see. And I remember feeling like, whoa, okay, like that's like it just stayed with me a lot. And I think that it played a big part in my career afterwards. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to England. I'm gonna give it a try. Day I arrived, it was Brexit, but it's okay. I'm still here. Don't kick me out. So I came here and I went to Drama Center, it was just over there, to do my master's in acting. Met a lot of amazing artists and amazing actors, one of whom introduced me to this church and to Jesus, so that was part, yeah. So that was an amazing journey. And so when I graduated, as many actors, you know, like you study for like such a long time, and you're ready, you know, you're like, I'm ready to, you know, be on stage, I'm ready to be on film, I'm ready to do this thing, but just no one's gonna hire you, because you're just coming out of school and you're nobody. So you have this kind of big gap all of a sudden that no one prepares you for, because everyone, like your whole training is all about how do you build a character, how do you work on your accent, how do you work on your posture, no one tells you how do you take care of your mental health when all your dreams suddenly make no sense anymore, because there's no place for it. And it was kind of a tough time just coming out in the world, and no one's waiting for you. And so I thought, okay, what am I gonna do now? And I thought, you know what, like no one's casting me anything, so I'm just gonna cast myself. So I'm just gonna make my own film. So with my friends, we started writing a bit together, start to produce my first short film, and it did really well. It went to festivals, I won a lot of awards for my performance and for the film. And then from then, a lot of things started coming. Like I had my first big play, and then the first, you know, TV job, and then another big TV job, and now I have quite a big part in a new Apple TV series, which I'm shooting now. So it's kind of, but it's been a journey. But I'm gonna go into more detail about that. So yeah, the kind of challenges that I want to talk about with acting in particular, and I think there are many. I think the first one is just your mental health, because you audition for so many things. Like you constantly have auditions for things, and you know you receive this audition, you have this script, and you work on it because you want to do an amazing audition. So you start to love that character, and you start to think, I could play that thing. That would be great. And you start to just dream about it. You know, what if I get the job? Like if I get this job, I'm just gonna be on Netflix, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. And it's just impossible to prepare that character, to prepare that work, and not dream about it and not believing it. Otherwise, you know, you're just gonna half do it. So, and that's not what you wanna do. So just because you wanna do a good job, you put yourself in such a dangerous kind of place where, you know, and no one kind of teach you like how to get out of it. Um, and for that, and I mean, I kind of want to go from the challenges to faith, because I feel like for me, at least, like all the challenges that I find in acting, I find answers to them in my faith. So I'm kind of merging those two questions, if you don't mind. And so, yes, I realized with that kind of hope problem, which is not a problem, but it kind of is, I realized something with all my fellow actors that are not Christians or do not have faith, is that it's a terrible thing. Like, I can see them just being eaten alive by that thing, because they think, well, this role was for me. Like, I could feel it was for me. Why didn't I get the role? Because I should have get it. And they keep thinking about a role that they auditioned for like months ago. And for me, like, I find a lot of peace in that, because I think if the role isn't for me, it isn't for me. Like, there is a path that is set for me, and I have so much peace with that. So I'm just gonna do my best every time, because I don't know. Like, you never know. You know, I want to let myself be surprised by what could happen, but I'm not gonna force my destiny in that sense. I'm not gonna be like, well, God, why didn't I get the job? Like, God knows why I didn't get the job. It's because I'm supposed to get that one, that is gonna get me that one, and then make me meet that person. And God is in control. So that kind of peace of mind just allow you to live the journey with just so much more strength. And you don't waste time always thinking about the thing you don't have or you didn't get. You're always on the next thing. And that makes you work so much faster and evolve faster in your career. And I kind of see that in many, because all my kind of friends, like people who are Christians and people who are not, and it's in the long term that I kind of realize the differences in how, in the long run, you know, that faith just gives you endurance, right? So that's one of the challenges. Another big challenge, obviously, is money, because when you start, and I guess it was the same as a producer, it's like when you start, there's just no job, so you have to kind of work, like have like some kind of job, but a job that doesn't take too much time, because at the same time you have auditions, so you have to be available for auditions, and then if you have rehearsals, by some time you need money to pay your rent, so you're just in the middle. And I feel like for that, with the community around you, that isn't a problem. Like, it is a scary thing when you start and you think, how am I going to cope with, but there is a solution for everything. Yeah, it's expensive to get headshots, you know, it's expensive to get a show, it's expensive to get all these things that you need as an actor. But guess what? If you have a community, you're going to have a friend who has a camera, and this person's going to do sound, and maybe that person that never done sound, this person from church is like, I don't know, but they're still going to do it, because, you know, they're not going to just let you struggle. So yeah, big challenge, but solution. So don't freak out if you want to be an actor. Yeah, another thing for me is like all the temptations that are part of, you know, this industry. There's a part of it that comes from the roles that you play, because you are, you know, encouraged and pushed, and is the right thing to do, but to explore kind of the deepest, scariest part of yourself, and the darkest part of yourself, to portray a character and its struggle. Because what you want to see, you know, in films or in plays or anything, is you want to see, you know, someone struggling with something, and then how that person overcome that struggle, and that's what you want. But so if the actor is just, you know, playing it like, oh, I am struggling, you will feel it and you're not going to engage. So you want someone that's actually going to take the risk to just really go there with their feelings and really explore those parts. But the thing is, as the actor and not the character, you have to put yourself in those very dangerous places in your head, and sometimes it can be a confusion, you know, at the end of the day, of like, did I really feel that? Is that how I feel? Is that who I am? Or am I something else? Like, and it's constant. So you're constantly, you know, exploring very deep issues. So it's just easy to kind of think that it's you, that you're really feeling that thing, that you're really feeling that desire, you're really feeling this and that. And then again, I feel like having just, you know, having God in your life and having that kind of grounding is more than necessary, because same thing, in the long run, like, you just lose yourself. And I've seen that so much with people. And I feel like with just having God in your life, you, like, every night or every morning, you just go back to that place that you know is you. And that's not going to be, I don't know, I'm not saying it's like easy all the time, but it's something, right? And without that, I don't know how other people do it, honestly. I just don't, but there you go. And then, yeah, another challenge is just the people. I don't know, like all the spiritual gurus that this industry is full of is just, it's amazing. And I think it comes from that thing that I just described of, because we constantly thinking, of all these places and these feelings, and people start to think that they master that, that they understand the deep meaning of everything, and they've mastered all these theories about how the world works, because they're constantly thinking about it. And it's just a very difficult it's difficult waters to kind of navigate in, because people are saying very interesting things, and that sounds really, it always sounds really good. So you're constantly surrounded by people that just, like narcissist, or spiritual narcissist, I think is the word. And that's it's a tough part, but then again, you kind of make it work. And yeah, what else do I want to say? And I guess the politics of the industry is also sometimes difficult, but I think it's both a difficult thing and an opportunity for us. Us like women and Christians and people of color, and because the arts, and especially with Netflix and Amazon, all of those things, right? Everything you see on TV is not just entertainment now at this point. It's also what educates people. Like people watch stuff all the time. So what they see is what comes then in their language, in what they think, in what they buy, in everything. So the arts right now is, and I think especially the entertainment industry and films and movies and series is more than a tool. Sometimes it's a weapon, right? It's a weapon of education. So if it's used well, it can push boundaries. Like I've seen in the last couple of years how representation of what we call industry BAME, which is Black, Asian, Middle Eastern, but that incorporates anyone that isn't white, basically. And the industry has been pushing that, and there's been so many changes, in the way that in films, just in like putting lead roles, like saying that a Black person or an Arab or whatever should not just be, the Arab shouldn't be the terrorist, the Black person is not going to be the slave, or this and that. They should be the lead person. And the fact that they're Black has nothing to do with their character. It's just like the romantic lead and all that kind of thing that didn't exist before. And because of that in the film industry, it then trickles down in society, because then people every day start to question things and be like, well, because they see all these series, they think about, why in my everyday life, why doesn't this happen? Why? So it's so powerful. The arts are just so powerful. But at the same time, I think that if the wrong people are in charge of it, well, they can say anything, right? They can kind of push any kind of narrative. So I think it's important that everyone kind of play their part in it, right? And use their voice, and not just the writers. It gotta be the actors, it gotta be the producers, it gotta be kind of everybody, really. So, yeah, I think that's kind of my main thing, yeah.
Thank you so much, Lina. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. So we are going to have our Q&A now. So I should have said, Lina, if you could stay up here and take a seat there. I'll pass the mic between you. I'm going to run around the church. So does anybody have, so loud, does anybody have any questions? Kev? All right, give me 2 seconds. Do you know what? I think I might just hold the mic. I think that's going to make it a lot easier. Sorry.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you. Because I'm quite new to the industry myself now, I wanted to see behind the scenes a bit more, and I'm new as an actor. I just wondered, either of you, if you could give me quite new some fresh advice. As I do have 2 questions. That's the first question. The other one I'll ask a bit later when everyone else. The first question is isn't quite new. Is there some kind of advice you could give me to land the correct roles, or who to connect with, to be in touch with the right people? Yeah. Oh.
Yes, it's all right.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the first thing would be training. Whether you're ready or not, I think that training is important because, I mean, first of all, because in England at least, no one hires you if you don't have training. Like it's really like a glass ceiling kind of thing that no one talks about, but it is there. And also like your training is kind of your base for everything. So sometimes you're gonna have roles that you don't know how to tackle just because the character is so different from you, and it's gonna give you anxiety. And the only thing that's gonna kind of give you kind of a grounding to start approaching it is just going back to the training, going back to the simple rules. Okay, what do I do? First thing is the research about the environment, the background, all the kind of stuff that you learn during training. So I feel like this is the first thing. And then, I mean, we can connect afterwards for like a lot of details, but then you have to be on certain platforms. You have to be on Mandy or Backstage, which are like a platform when you have all the actors, you know, that aren't represented or are, but they're still like doing like small roles. And you can do student films and unpaid films, and you do that, like I've done that for, I don't know, like 4 years before I started to do really like professional work, just because, well, it get me footage and it get me just training on set, just like teaches me to be on set. And I'm with other people that want to learn as well, you know, like student directors and everything. So they have a lot of patience because they are the same level as I am, right? So there's less pressure to like deliver something or whatever. So you can really take your time to kind of hone your craft through that. So yeah, training, and then Mandy Backstage, get headshots, get a show reel, which is basically like a 2-minute clip of like small clips of you acting. And yeah, and just getting out there, do as much as you can. Like, and I know you already kind of do, you know, like you do improv and you do this and that. And I feel like the best actors and the one that really start very quickly are those that are so passionate that they're always doing something. Even if it's not always like, you know, acting, can be spoken words, or it can be just always performing, always putting themselves in a situation where, you know, they're in danger, but it's okay, like, and they just get used to it. So it's just doing it all the time. It doesn't matter if it's not Netflix, no one cares. Just, you know, do a play in a very dark theater under a bar. Like I've done hundreds of those, and it's how you get that confidence to move forward. And people notice you because casting directors, agents, they go to those small plays and everything, and they scout people. So if you're always doing something, you're gonna be seen by someone for sure. So yeah, if you have stuff.
I was only just gonna I was gonna ask a question, which I hope would help answer the question. But I was just gonna say, do things with your peers, definitely, which is similar to what you said. Just get yourself out there using the resources you already have, and it's good practice, like you said. But one thing that I've always wondered is, how do up and coming actors connect with casting directors? But I guess you just said they go to plays and yeah.
So there's two things I've noticed, because I'm obviously, because of my background in finance, I'm obsessed with like the business side of it, and like I do Excel spreadsheet and I just follow everything. I'm a bit of a freak. There's two things. There's like, if you have an agent, he's gonna do that thing for you. Like he's gonna call the casting director, and if you have a manager, even better. He's gonna call casting directors even if there's no jobs going, just to be like, hey, have you seen my client? Da-da. Before you get that, you have what they call a casting directors workshop. So you have stuff like mixing networks that do that, and also Actors Guild. I'll give you like the list and stuff. But it's places where you sign up, and casting directors give you like a scene 2 days before, and then you come, like there's like 10 actors, and you can perform your little scene in front of them. It doesn't mean that anything's gonna ever happen, but they get to see your face, and what casting directors are about is remembering faces. So when they see you at those workshops, if they have a role and they need someone like you, they're like, oh wait, I've seen this actor during my workshop, where's my thing? So that's a way to kind of start. And a lot of young actors coming out of drama schools, that's what they do those workshops. Thank you. Sorry, could you... For that question. Alors pour les... Donc il y a quelqu'un qui parle français ici, je crois, c'est ça. Pour les casting directors, ce que je disais, c'est qu'il y a des ateliers en fait pour... il y a des ateliers pour les acteurs en fait. Donc ce qui se passe, c'est que tu sign up. Donc les ateliers, c'est Mixing Network et Actors Guild. Je pourrais donner la liste après. Et en fait, ce que tu fais tout simplement, c'est que tu t'inscris. C'est un petit fee de 30 pounds maximum. Et en fait, le casting director te donne une scène à préparer. Et quand tu viens à l'atelier, tu as 10-15 minutes pour faire ta scène, en fait. Donc du coup, le casting director te voit. Et en général, c'est des très gros casting directors. Moi, je suis déjà passée devant des gens genre Nina Gold qui a fait Game of Thrones, tous les trucs comme ça. Donc c'est vraiment des gros casting directors. Et ça veut pas dire que tu vas avoir un job à la sortie du truc, mais si jamais ils sont en train de caster un truc et ils ont besoin d'une française ou de ceci, ça, ils se font ah mais attends, j'ai vu cette meuf. Donc en fait, t'es dans leur fichier quoi en fait. Donc c'est un peu comme ça que tu peux commencer avant d'avoir un agent. Une fois que t'as un agent, l'agent il va faire ça pour toi, t'as pas besoin de le faire. Ouais.
Great. So, is there anybody else with a question?
Hi, I've got a question for Alifa. She knows it's coming. I guess a lot of people have creative hobbies. And at what point did you realize that you wanted to take it from a hobby and something you do on a side to being something full time? And I guess, have you got any encouragement for people that might be a bit scared to take that leap into freelancing and like lose that security blanket?
No, that is actually a really good question. I should have touched on it. So I got to a point at work in my full-time job where I'd finished all my annual leave for the year, which I think is, and it wasn't, I hadn't been away. I'd finished it by booking time off to work on productions. And I remember I was having a conversation with my line manager, and they basically didn't want to give me one of the days. Basically, I wanted to take unpaid leave. And they're like, well, you finished all your annual leave. I don't think we can give you this day off. And it was when I was coming to shoot my second short, and I just had a conversation with them where I was kind of like, I do so much for the team. Can I just take this one unpaid day off? And they were like, sure, yeah, fine. And then I think I kind of came to realization that, gosh, I think I was almost willing to, because I'm not really someone who usually would, what's the thing? What is the word? Oh, confrontation. I'm not very confrontational, but I was literally just like, no, I'm not having this. I'm having this one day off. And I thought, okay, gosh, you really care about this thing. So I think that was kind of a wake-up call for me. But then when I got the opportunity to go on the TV series as a trainee for 3 weeks, it was very weird. There was something in my spirit that felt really calm. So I would say for anyone that's wondering about taking the leap, definitely pray about it, definitely talk to God about it, and I think literally see how your mind, spirit, how you're feeling. Because I think it may not feel like a rational decision, but I think if it's what you're supposed to do, you will feel it. And I think if it's not, you will feel it. But yeah, the piece I had to leave this full-time employment to try freelancing, when I kind of really had, I just had that one connection in the industry who has actually not ever given me any paid work. So yeah, he'd probably give me jobs, but it'd be loads of unpaid work. And I think if it wasn't for the peace that I felt, I would never have taken that leap. So I would definitely say, before you ever I guess maybe turn your what you do on the side, maybe your passion or your hobby or your side hustle into a fully fledged, I guess, career, definitely pray about it and see how you feel. And because I guess God won't always give us the roadmap, but he kind of knows. So I think he gives us some kind of intuition to go with it, or maybe it's not the right time. So I think trust when it's the right time, and be patient if it's not the right time. Because I think so obviously if I'd finished my annual leave, it'd been at least a year of me trying to do content stuff on the side. And I think maybe I just assumed I'd just keep doing it on the side for however long was needed. But yeah, you get to a breaking point, I think. Yeah.
I think as the most terrifying thing ever, and I remember that for a year, maybe 2 years, I've cried about this, just by fear. And also by, I wouldn't say jealousy, but every time I would talk to my friends who have normal jobs, and I can see how they progress, and you know, they get better jobs and better pay, and now they can, you know, have kids and buy a house, and I'm not there yet, and it's terrifying. But first of all, don't compare yourself to other people. Like, rule number one of that kind of job, like, never compare. Like, this is your own path, and no one else has your path, and you might have nothing, and then at age 40, you're gonna have the biggest break ever, and you're gonna be a superstar. So, like, don't compare yourself. But also, organization, like, don't lie to yourself. You might not be paid. You might not be paid before like a few years. So don't do those plans that you do in your head when you're like, well, maybe I'll get very, like, just in 6 months. Like, no, it's not gonna happen. Plan everything as if it's not gonna happen. And now, just like a very, like, precise kind of advice, like, there are jobs out there for freelance, for actors and producers, that are not related to the industry, but that can get you to get money. So, for example, you have teaching assistant, which is, you know, for special needs kids, and I know a lot of actors do that. Why? Because once you're in that agency for teaching assistant, you can just, every morning, 6 a.m., you call and you're like, I want to work today, or I don't want to work today, which is perfect for actors, because the thing is, you don't know if you're going to have a job next week, right? But at the same time, you have to work, so it's a very weird position. But with that kind of job, you know, every day you kind of make your day according to what the schedule is. So you can have your full creative experience, your full creative process, while having money, but that doesn't, you know, come into your acting or producing or creative journey. So you have, teaching assistant, and also, what's the other job they do? Same thing, but what is that called? PA assistant thing. So I have like a list of places for that, if for any of you who are interested. And like Just Search does that. It's the same thing, but it's like front desk for big like lawyer companies and stuff like that. Same thing. You call in the morning, you're like, I want to work today, and they're like, okay, go to that place in Banks. They need someone, and you just go front desk. Hi, do you have a meeting? Yeah. So here's your slot. Please stay here. That's all you have to do. Nothing, and you can learn your script on the side. You prepare your budget, or like whatever. And it doesn't take space in your head, because I think that's also a thing. Sometimes you kind of have a job on the side, but then that job has responsibilities and you have to prepare stuff. That's not what you want to be thinking about. You want to be thinking about your film. So there's so many jobs that you can do that's not going to take space in your head and still going to give you money until you get something else. But there's ways, like, there's people who's been there before you. So always trying to find those people that are going to tell you like how they manage it. There's always a solution for everything, I think. Do you want to in French? Yeah, sorry. Donc ce que je disais, c'est qu'il y a des jobs pour les acteurs et pour les créatifs qui te permettent de t'en sortir sans te prendre la tête sur d'avoir un full-time job où tu as des responsabilités, où tu dois être là tous les jours ou certains jours, etc. Parce que quand tu es acteur ou quand tu es quoi que ce soit, il se peut que tu aies une audition le lendemain, il se peut que tu aies quoi que ce soit, en fait, tu dois être dispo à chaque moment, mais en même temps, tu as besoin de payer ton loyer, donc tu es un peu dans une situation un peu bizarre. Et du coup, il y a des jobs, et donc je disais, un des jobs, c'est assistant de professeur pour des enfants en difficulté. C'est un job qui est tellement difficile à trouver, en fait, que du coup, ils prennent tous ceux qui sont dispo, en fait. Et en général, ils adorent les acteurs pour ça, parce qu'on est très vivants, etc. Et donc, c'est un type de job où juste t'appelles le matin à 6h et tu dis « Bonjour, j'aimerais travailler ». Ils disent ok, ils t'envoient à tel ou tel endroit où ils ont besoin de quelqu'un. Et en fait, au quotidien, au jour le jour, tu travailles ton truc. Donc ça veut dire que si tu as une audition ce jour-là, tu vas pas les appeler, et c'est tout. Et du coup, ça prend pas de place dans ta tête de te dire ah mais j'ai des responsabilités, je devais rendre tel Excel, il n'y a pas de ça en fait. Et du coup, il y a plusieurs jobs comme ça. Si t'es intéressé, je peux te donner aussi la liste de tous les trucs. Mais il y a toujours un moyen de s'en sortir financièrement. Il y a tous les acteurs avant toi, en fait, ils ont trouvé un moyen, des petites combines, en fait. Donc il y a toujours une solution pour tous les trucs, et surtout pour l'argent. À Londres, il y a plein de plans, il y a plein de moyens. Donc il ne faut pas s'inquiéter là-dessus, quoi. Il faut juste y aller. Si c'est ce que tu veux faire, tu ne prends pas la tête.
Okay. So I think both of you touched on the fact that you've had to navigate maybe saying no to certain roles, or I guess Lina, you spoke about the fact that you sort of have to put yourself out there, and there's certain things that might compromise maybe your faith or your beliefs. And Alifa, you spoke about the types of films. So I guess my question is around the fact, has there been a time when you've had to navigate sort of saying no and balancing up with the fact that maybe you really need a job. So what do you do in those cases, or have you got examples?
I was just going to say, I feel like, I know you're touching it more, but I feel like as an actress, I imagine you have to give yourself, like, so much of yourself to something. And it's, I think, also, like, similarly as with producing, you really invest in the project. So I think even if you're in a really tight spot, I think if you think about the project and it doesn't align with your views and how you see it, you won't do the job well. Like, you might end up being fired. So I think you just kind of have to weigh up. And I think it kind of comes back to, when you said the endurance, I think our faith gives us that endurance. So you kind of trust that this definitely is not for me. I would not be able to do this job well. I don't agree with the story. It's not the kind of thing I want to bring to life. And I trust that even though I'm in a tight spot, God has something else lined up. So that makes it a little bit easier to walk away from. But yeah, I think it's the investment part when you think about how much you have to invest into it, and just knowing that you won't do it justice. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a different kind of situation because, like, I mean, you have the power and and we don't. But I think for me, like, I think there's a debate on that to have, like, amongst Christians. So I don't know, like, it's just my point of view, and I might be wrong, and, I'm evolving, so maybe, I'll do things differently in the future. But for me, I never say no to anything, except nudity. I don't do nudity. But I never say no to a role just because the character is, like, against my values or my beliefs, because it's a role. And I think that the value of portraying that is so much bigger than the way I would judge that character. Because, like, what is the point of the film, right? The point of them is not to be like, this is the way to be a serial killer. It's not what they're saying. They're just saying, like, humanity is so vast and complex, right? And it's not because someone is wrong that we shouldn't know that this kind of people exist, right? It's exactly the point why we do that. We're trying to portray, humans in the most accurate way, so we can start thinking, so that the audience can be like, well, why do people do that? Why do people torture other people? Why do people do this and this and that? So as an actor, when I portray that role, I'm not condoning, is that the word? Condoning the action of that character. I'm just saying, let me show you how deeply fucked up things can be, but so that you can then be prepared to be in that world, right? So I would not, like, and I mean, I have to do roles, like, because of my ethnicity in the language that I speak. I play, like, I get cast mostly as, like, Muslim all the time, and I will play those roles because, like, there's so much, like, those people are here. Everyone, like, all the people that we are portraying, there's real people. So why would I not want to be a real person so that you can look at it and have an opinion about things? So, yeah, I would not say no, unless, nudity, as I said, I think is not relevant to the job, but, yeah, if that answers you. French? So, oui, ce que je voulais dire, c'est que je dirais jamais non à un rôle, parce que je pense pas que juste parce que tu joues un rôle, ça veut dire que tu considères que la personne a raison. Si tu joues un serial killer, le mec, c'est pas du tout... je dis pas qu'il faut être un tueur et buter tout le monde, mais il faut qu'on voit, en fait, comment les gens ils sont et la multitude de personnalités qu'il y a, juste parce que après, l'audience, elle peut avoir une vision, et il peut avoir des débats qui commencent, et on peut commencer à discuter, etc. Donc, ouais, je pense que on s'en fout. À part pour la nudité, je vois pas pourquoi je dirais non à un rôle juste parce que le personnage, il est un peu bizarre, quoi, je pense.
Question. Lina, you mentioned something about people being sort of discipled by what they see, what is on the media, and then therefore we need people of faith, not to do necessarily only Christian or biblical themes necessarily, but Christian artists, producers, actors and actresses, and the industry. Um, how do you, both of you, think or see that that could be more intentional from Christians, and how they could bring their, kind of a faith worldview, not necessarily straight away to, but something more like Terrence Malick, I think, would do, or how do you see, both from a producer and from an actress point of view, we as Christians could encourage other artists to kind of push a bit more in industry?
I think for me, it's a game of show don't tell, because you can say whatever, right? If people don't believe, like you can. I mean, depends. Sometimes you can get through, but like you can have like all these speeches. People don't know you. Why would they? I feel like where the moment where you can switch people's mind is just like being just the embodiment of perfection of Christ, right? And then be like, oh, by the way, I'm Christian, which I feel like a lot of actors do sometimes. Like there was a speech that who was it? It was a black actress. I know she's represented by IAG. Yeah, maybe that was. But she doesn't talk about her faith. Like she's never about like. But then she does an amazing work. She's the most amazing actress. She's just nailed her role. And then just the day of the award, she's like, "Thank you, God." And it's like she didn't try to like push her agenda constantly. She's just being and just being such an amazing actress and pulling her heart out in the roles. And the roles don't have to be Christian roles. Again, like it can be anything. Like she could play a Muslim for all I care. She could play a Buddhist. She could play a serial killer, and she would just nail that role and do an amazing job. And then you were like, okay, she's an amazing actress, period. And then she's like, well, I owe everything to God. So I think that for me, that's what it is. It's like not trying to push the agenda, just be, what you are because of what the Lord gave you. And then you're like, this is who I owe it to, I would say.
No, I definitely agree. I would say, yeah, just definitely it's about just being and just being authentic with it. So I think it's true. It's not really about ramming it down anyone's throat. But I think what's quite interesting from a producer's perspective, I guess, is kind of having a little bit of that freedom in terms of when you're developing a story. It's like, is this showing, I guess, values of Christianity? And it can be in something so simple as maybe you see a character who's struggling and someone else offers them kindness. I think it's small things like that that maybe society needs to see more of. But I think in terms of like our peers and our Christian peers, I think it's just when you do have the opportunity to speak about your faith and you have that like inkling, just do it. Because I think sometimes you never know. Like I remember I did a job with someone recently towards the back end of last year, and it wasn't until like my last day at work, like we were saying bye to each other. She was like, "I've been meaning to ask you this for ages." She was like, "I thought it on the first day I met you." She was like, "But are you a Christian?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think it's just have those conversations more and more, and I think you can just slowly, I think we'll just infiltrate in our own way, and it will be subtle, but hopefully it will be still powerful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Amazing. That's it for tonight. Oh, we will have some live music, but I mean, you guys don't have to be on the hot seat anymore. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you. No worries. Thank you so much. Can we get another one, guys? Because they really were amazing. Okay. Cool. So we're going to have a little music by myself. Yeah, thanks, guys. Just a couple, not too many. So stick with us, guys. Let me just sort this out. I don't have to wipe the mic no more. Hi, guys. Oh, the hot seat feels different, mate. Gosh, you guys did amazing. Wow. and sit on these things. Gosh, so bear with me, guys. Let me get a bit comfortable. Swiveling. There we go. That's a bit better, I think. Huh? Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good. Okay, so the first song I'm going to play is called The Kingdom of Heaven. And it goes like this. Your word is a lamp to my feet. Your word is a double-edged sword, dividing spirit, soul, bone, and marrow. Your word is the light and the life of man. And the word, yes, the word became flesh, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven, Lord, the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven, Lord, the kingdom. Light came into the world, but the dark could not comprehend it. Came unto his very own, and they rejected him. For man so loved their evil, wicked ways, and like sheep we have all gone astray. But the good shepherd laid down his life all the same, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven, Lord, the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven, Lord, the kingdom. Your word is bread for me to eat. Your word is living water for me to drink. Your word is light for me to see. Your word is life that I may live. Your word is bread for me to eat. Your word is living water for me to drink. Your word is light for me to see. Your word is life that I may live. Lord, Lord, your word is bread for me to eat. Your word is living water. Oh, it's life, it's life. Lord, it's life. Your kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. much, guys. The second song is called Tectonic Plates. Like tectonic plates, it grates, and the consequences are just as great. Father, am I changing or am I just the same? Or is the process slow, like limestone and acid rain? Dover on my mind, I pray my prideful ways erode like the coastline. Dover on my mind, I pray my selfish ways erode like the coastline. And you're the waves, your love and truth are the waves. And you're the waves, your love and truth are the waves. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. Slow going, like the seed beneath the earth, but there's life growing, like the babe within the womb. And though we're not seeing or knowing, we know the truth, that you're working everything according to your will. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. Sometimes you'll lead us to the fire, to refine us for your glorious name's sake. And sometimes you'll lead us to the water, to restore our aching heart. And sometimes you'll lead us to the valley, but your rod and staff are not absent there. Just like when we're on the mountain, Father God, you're close, you're near. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. Holy are you, Lord, perfectly moral. Your counsel I seek, that I may dwell with thee. That I may dwell with thee. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. I've got one more, but I need a glass of water. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Thanks for your patience, guys. Oh, this chair again. I forgot about that. I forgot about it. Oh, my gosh. No, we need just a stable one. We went too fancy with the swizzle. Try and remember it now, guys. This is called The Only Key.
Ain't you tired, my brother? Ain't you tired, my sister? Of waking up in the morning and putting the mask on. You struggle to tell the difference. Who am I? Who do I want them to see? Who do I even want to be? You indulge in all the world has to offer and feel more empty than you did before. Believe the lie that this is all there is. Believe the lie, believe the lie. Why? Jesus came to set the captives free, but you deny the only key. Christ came to set the captives free, but you deny the only key. You feel worse than you did before. You got strange thoughts knocking at the door of your mind. Bloodlines no longer even know what's wrong or right. Christ came to set the captives free, but you deny the only key. Jesus came to set the captives free, but you deny the only key. The only, the only, the only key. Jesus came to set the captives free, but you deny the only key.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I guess I got to end the show as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you so much to the speakers. So good, so informative, so encouraging. And we're looking forward to the rest of you guys' story as well. So keep us posted, and we'll have another one. Thank you, everybody at home, for joining us as well. We are celebrating the creative, and most of all, the creator of the creatives. For all of us are made in his image. So yes, let's give a shout out to him. He deserves the glory. Thank you again for joining us, and hopefully see you next week, Thursday, for music and some acting as well again. So thank you again. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.